Here we are back to our escape room demo that we've created. The first episode, we created these three spaces, and we also created what is called the default spawn spot. And this is just me kind of looking from an overhead standpoint. If I go ahead and turn off fly mode, I will jump back into this first room. So today's goals, we are going to talk about how to move from one room to the other. And then we are going to also add some material inside of the rooms. I need to go back to fly mode because we actually need to go over to the other room to create a destination spawn spot. Movement from spot to spot within the frames when they are disconnected like this, meaning you can't walk from one room to the next, requires you to create spawn spots to move from point A to point B. So I'm going to go to the creation menu, click more, click spawn spot, and I'm going to name this room 2. Go to the edit menu, and you do not want to name this the default spawn spot. And it's up to you whether you want it to spawn in a circle. As the name would imply, that just means that they are going to come in somewhere here in this circle. If you are looking to have them look at a particular spot in particular, then turn off spawn in a circle, and you'll notice that now we have this purple, almost like a fan, if you will, or a quarter of the circle. And that is actually going to be the viewpoint when the person comes into the room. So if I wanted them to be looking at the window, for example, it is the inverse of where the blue arrow is pointing. So they're going to come in at this spot and they're going to be viewing the things that are inside of this fan. So that's all we need to do to create that. We need to go back to the other room to link the user to come into this spot. Fly back over here. Oops, don't want to change that. I'm actually going to lock that so that we don't click on that by accident. Okay, there are a couple of different ways to have users move from one place to the other. We're going to start on what I think is on the simpler side. We're going to go to the creation menu and we're simply going to create a button. So I'm going to choose text and text label. When the text label first comes up, it's kind of large like that. Click on it once, and now we have the ability to edit it. I'm going to start by clicking and dragging on the corners here to resize it, make it a little bit smaller. And again, using the gizmo, if I zoom in a little bit here, I have the ability to rotate it on the axis like that. And then if I want to move it on the axis, I grab the end of the arrows. So that would move it back towards the wall. That's behind the wall. They're not going to be able to see it. So I'm going to put it right in front of the wall, line it up a little bit like this. We're not really worried about placement in this demo. I'm going to name this room 2 to make it very clear where we're going. And you can change a number of the things here on the left-hand side menu, lock the position, probably a good idea. The others we're not going to worry about right now, but we are going to add a link. And when you check off add the link, you'll notice there are a number of places that you can link to, but we want to go to another spot. And our next spot was called room 2 and click save. So now if I back up here, I get out of edit mode. I'm in this room. Let's turn off flying mode so that you can see what that would look like if you are actually in the environment. And if I click there, you're going to get a little pop-up confirming that you want to go there. And here we go. So actually what I had talked about earlier, I was the inverse on the spawn spot here. The viewpoint is actually what the blue arrow is pointing at. So if you wanted them to be looking at the window, you can actually go like that. So disregard what I had said earlier. We will turn off and I'll refresh the page real quick so that you go back. Oh, okay. So it brought us right to that room, but that's going to be the new view when people enter this room. But notice up here in the URL, if I take away the hashtag room 2, which is the spot name, and hit refresh, then I should go back to that first room. I've got my room 2, and when I click on that, I go to this room and I'm looking out the window. Perfect. If I wanted to create the inverse, click text, text label, click on the edit button, make it smaller, back, add a link, add a spot link, and go to entry. Click save, get out of edit mode, and I should be able to go back to that first room. So now I can pop back and forth. Okay, perfect. So we have navigation down. That's how you would move from, that's one of the ways to move from room 1 to room 2. We'll be adding many other options here shortly. So what else can we add to this room? When I click on the creation menu, you'll notice up here at the top, it says create with AI. and there are a number of things that you can create with AI. I'm not going to get there for right now. I'd rather click on 3D model and talk about the options that are here built in first, and then we'll get into AI creation. Over on the right-hand side, if I scroll down, it says choose from library, and there is a modest selection of pre-built items that Frame offers to you. So if I click and drag the office furniture out into the room, that 3D model is now added. Let me click on the spawn spot. Oh, never mind. Go back and click on the furniture. I'll move that over here into the corner by using the arrows of the gizmo. Now this one does not have the ability to drag the corners in terms of the size, but if I go to the edit menu on the left-hand side, you'll notice that I do have the ability to change the rotation and the position, but it doesn't look like I can actually change the size of that particular model. It does not have that ability. Let's go over here and review a little bit more. Notice that there are some different categories here. So if you wanted something that was futuristic, there's also some icons, 3D models that are based on different times of the year. So with Halloween this week, let's bring a pumpkin out. Click on that plus, put the pumpkin in. Now, in this particular example, you'll notice that I do have the ability to change the size by clicking the handles in the top corner. Let's put this over here on the table. So I'm going to move that here, slide it up. So now we have, slide that up. I know it is. So over here on the left-hand side, if you'll notice, I'm trying to put this up on the table, but when I look at the options over here on the left, it says snap to floor. If I uncheck that, now I should be able to freeform and move that wherever I want to. So that was a good catch using the various options over here on the left-hand side. Notice that there are others such as lock position, we've already talked about. Spin, so if you wanted the pumpkin to be moving around, you can change the axis, X, Y, or Z, and the speed. Downloadable, and we already talked about adding a link, which we'll explore much more in future episodes. All right, one more thing to check out in terms of adding content. Since they have added the AI feature, what happens is when other people go into the generative AI and search for a particular model, then those are also added to the general library here within FrameVR. So you can benefit from a long list of some varied 3D models, so everything from tigers to humans to furniture to things, the Mona Lisa and elephants. So let's bring an elephant in, see what that looks like. Click on the plus and notice again, I do have the resize on the corners. I can move that where I need to. So in an escape room, of course, the items that are in the room are going to be key to the theme, and this gives you a sense of two of the built-in ways to add content to your escape room. And then in the next episode, we're going to get into much more into detail in terms of both adding content, text, audio, and other 3D models so that we can create an atmosphere that will provide the theme to the user for the escape room. So stay tuned for that in the next episode.